Welcome to, I think somebody told me it was the first IFA press briefing in the States. So,
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly, great. Well, that makes me very proud. Let me start by saying thank you. Thanks for making the time in your busy schedules to come and see us and hear what we've got to say. My name is Oliver Merlin. I'm the Managing Director of IFA Management GmbH. I'll explain a little bit about what that is and why I'm here and who I am in a minute. Let me also say thank you to the crew from Technopolis. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, Steve, for setting this up. It's a lovely venue here. And I will also say a little thank you to my team, but I'll introduce them properly to you in a bit. I've got 4 members of my team here. I'll introduce them to you as we get into the slide. The team and what the company is quite an important factor here, because that's a change from what you probably already know about going to. And I've got 2 experts here with me. I'm certainly not an expert in the industry, I'm an expert in the events industry, but in terms of tech and consumer electronics, we've got Sojin here, who works at GFK, and we've got Mark, who works for SmartTech, and they're going to speak later. After I've done about 10 minutes of talking about IFA, that's a bit dangerous because usually I talk about an hour or so. I'm doing plans for later. Maybe we still be here around midnight. The team know, and then normally I submit like a deck of like 50 slides and it comes back to 6. That's almost what we're talking for an hour. And then the guys will do their presentations and we'll have a Q&A. So, okay. Good. Right. So then we should start. Yeah, Tim, this is me. So,
Can you pronounce Geschäftsführer?
I had a perm, you mean that? I'm trying to straighten my hair. So. Yes, the Geschäftsführer. Yeah, I've been trying to learn German. You probably. It's more like an English Geschäftsführer. I'm not German, so that has been a dual. It's been a kind of what's the word? What's that knife? Double-edged sword.
Yes.
Yeah. In Germany. So obviously, up until now, IFA has been run by Messerly, and a German institution, Brennan institution. IFA is a very German institution. Every Berliner that you meet, every German that you meet is super, super proud and happy. They will be taken by the hand to IFA. But that's a fantastic thing. And even now, our 2 biggest clients, Bosch, Siemens and Miele, big, venerable German company. It's very important. It's hugely important to the show. And the fact that I don't speak German is probably a little bit of an irritant. They have to have all the meetings in English, and all my press conferences are in English. I haven't taken German lessons, but they're not good enough yet. But I have learned Geschäftsführer. And there are some companies where we go and see them and they say, congratulations for not being German. Because there is, with something like IFA, the size and scale of it, there are so many different stakeholders, as you know. Some people, want it to remain being what it is, a German trade show, and some people want it to go in a new direction. So this is what me and my team have been trying to do. Balance those 2 very different dynamics. My background is as a management consultant. So out of university, I was at Accenture for about 5-6 years, far too long. I don't recommend that at all. But it did stand me in good stead. And in the last 10 years, I think even longer now, 2011, I started working in the events industry. I work for most of the big organisers in London. And last year, Clarion is the parent company of IFA Management GmbH. And it's one of the biggest events organisers in the world, headquartered in London, but run events, about 200 events, about 27 offices. That's me. This is the team. Kind of ragtag bunch of like mercenaries and chancellors that I sort of gathered around. This is important to note, so I just want to go back to this point about we've taken over this IFA Management GmbH. It's a new company that's being set up in Berlin. And when I took over in November, when I was offered the job and stupidly took the job, there was only me. I literally had no team, no office, no data, no nothing. And so in between November, in fact I wasn't even legally the MD, I became legally the MD in December. So between December and now, we effectively had to rebuild IFA from scratch. And so most of the people there, in fact it's about a date now, so we're about 40. About 40 people in our team now, so between December the 1st and now, a group of 40 people. 20 of those people are Germans or otherwise living in Germany or in Berlin all the time. And 20 of them are, these mercenaries that I've kind of rounded off in my head. trade events experts, I think they like to call themselves. And we've effectively taken over the running for IFA Berlin from the Messe Berlin. The show will continue to run in Messe Berlin for the foreseeable future. I think it's on a contract for 10 years. That was very important. It will not go anywhere. It will stay in Berlin, it will stay in the Messe. And the other leg to this triangle is the GFU. Some of you will know the GFU. It's the Consumer Electronics Association in Germany. And the GFU and Clarion made a joint venture, and that's the management GmbH. Yeah, that's how it kind of works, the corporate structure. That's it about the team, I think. Hold on, let's introduce these. So, the chap at the back in the white shirt, wave your hand, Tim. He's my sales director, Tim Jenkins. He's been responsible for getting all the revenue in. He's done a pretty good job because we're already, revenue-wise, I think, bigger than 2022 and heading on target to be bigger than 2019. We sold out in some of the areas of the show already, so it's good. Tim's done a good job. Well, Shelley, in your hand. Shelley, I know some of you already know Shelley quite well. She is our marketing director, so responsible for putting on events like this and all of the exhibitor promotions, visitor promotions, responsible for getting people to the show. And driving lots of inbound leads for Tim. Nadia is our events manager, so she's actually organised this. Thank you very much, Nadia. And has plotted what we called the route to Berlin. So one of the things I want to do is kind of get that drumbeat going of events like this, press conferences, us attending other events from basically from January until the show. In fact, now we've already started planning for, can we get you guys together again before Christmas? What does it look like for 2024? 2024, as you probably know, will be the 100th year of IFA. It's got 100 editions because various things have got in the way, during that time. But the first IFA was in 1924. And last but not least, Paola, stand up, man. Wave. Oh, you're not standing. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to make a ISIS joke. But anyway, Pam is our amazing content director. Content is. Or what we're doing in content is a hugely important part of IFA this year because one, IFA didn't do enough content in the past, and the content was a little bit too commercial, so keynotes would just be, a lot of the keynotes would be like companies speaking about their products and so on. So two, we've used content this year to drive IFA into areas where we've either missed the boat, like gaming, or in danger of missing the boat, like AI and meta and so on and so forth, and to overtly go into areas that have got nothing to do actually with a B2B trade show. They're really to drive consumer back in. Yeah. So Pam's got a hugely important job. Her team's done a brilliant job. I'll talk about it in a minute. The leaders side, which is a 2-day conference at the beginning, which has got some outstanding speakers. Right, so that's me and the team. One of the things, if you've been looking at or listening to any of the press conferences I've done recently, my kind of catchphrase has become evolution or revolution. So going back to my point from the beginning, driving IFA sometimes feels like driving the Titanic, right? It's this huge ship and you don't want to turn too fast in one way or another because you're going to hit an iceberg and everybody's going to die. That's not the plan, right? So, we have to really be careful. I see IFA as a guide. Okay? IFA is a guide for everybody is interested in consumer tech, and we have to, all the steps we take have to be quite considered. So the first thing that we did when we first took over, so a lot of pressure on kind of Shelley and Tim from a commercial point of view, is get IFA back to already what it was before. So you could come to IFA in September and go in and think that not much had changed. You go to the whole 5 days and you're going to walk in, you're going to see Bosch Siemens straight away, and you're going to be like, okay, this is great. And then you can go to Miele and it all looks like it's still a big German trade show. So all of these clients, plus a lot more of the brands that you'd expect to see from the home appliances sector and consumer electronics sector, will all be there. In big ways, doing their usual thing. On the other hand, both on the content side of things and, excuse me, talking too much. We've been deliberately going after logos and brands that you probably wouldn't expect to see at IFA. Some of these have definitely not been at IFA before, right? And these people are not necessarily exhibiting. Some are, as we make inroads into some of those areas. But some of these people are speaking, and some of these people are sponsoring. And one of the things we've done at IFA recently, they used to have this rule where you couldn't sponsor without taking space, right? I've broken that rule because that is nonsense. And over a period of time, trade shows really need to adapt to not just be trade shows. They need to be a place where people can just come and experience and have exhibitions and work with the brand. That doesn't mean you need a stand space, right? So a lot of these people are coming and sponsoring and all speaking. I think that's the case for most of them actually. This crazy one here, bottom left, does anybody know that logo at all? That's a guy called Quebblecop. You know Quebblecop? If you don't know Quebblecop, ask your kids. Okay. That's not his name. His name is Jordi van der Buschen. He's this Dutch kid who'll turn up in ripped jeans, sneaks, more messy hair than mine. He knows his stuff. He's got 15 million YouTube followers, and he, from probably about the age of 7, 8, 9, started filming himself and his friends playing Fortnite, playing Among Us, playing whatever. And gradually built up this incredible following, and now he's a kid, right? He's in his 20s, but he's going to come and talk about the future of metaverse. And this guy knows his stuff more than professors or whatever. So this is us trying to slowly shift the perception of what IFA is. We will always still have Miele and Bosch Siemens and etc. There will always be fantastic parts of the show, and in terms of space and revenue, all those things, probably still always bigger than most things, right? But maybe in our lifetime, and maybe not in 10 years' time, maybe not in 20 years' time, the show might be a bit more dominated by some of these guys. And there are also some big names that haven't yet signed for the consumer electronics space that are very, very close. Most of them because we're trying to do multi-year deals. Samsung, LG, so, yeah. This is momentum. So we have, I was talking to a few people before, we have basically about half the time you normally want to do something like this. So a lot of what we're trying to do is about creating momentum. We've really been working with teams. 40 people are working about it. It's crazy now. Like, one last push, guys. It's only 3 months of the show. Let's keep going. And I don't think a lot of people don't realise, but effectively we've been running a startup. You've got a 100-year institution that you've got in one place with all these expectations. Nobody really cares if it's startup or something. But still deliver. So, what we very, very trying as quickly as we possibly could was to get back to what size of 2022 was. That was the minimum, that was the lowest bar on the set. We did that a few weeks ago. So we now have sold out in the home appliances sector. We turned down 250,000 euros today. 3 clients will come and breaks my heart. But we're keeping space for the consumer electronics sector. Some of you may have followed that we hired a lady from Electronic Arts. I don't know if you saw that. A lady called Connie Schwaber. She worked for EA. She's come to join us. That's fantastic. That is slowly, we're taking the strategic steps to get into areas where you wouldn't expect even to go. So now we're having great conversations with gamers that are going to talk credibly about them maybe getting some gaming activities next year. We're going to 4 people about if you don't know anything about gaming, what are you talking about? Go back to fridge freezers. We've got wait lists, and we're making really good inroads now into some of these areas. Normally leading with the content. So in gaming, AI, meta, mobility, etc. One of the things that we've been quite surprised at actually this year is sustainability. We always knew we would have to do something in sustainability. We'll talk about it in a second. We've created this thing called the Sustainability Village, which is a big physical area in the show now, where we've got exhibitors, we've got sponsors, it's also a content program, and we're going to have a repair shop as well, which is very, very nice. We're still out of time. Is anybody holding up a big stopwatch? We'll be talking for an hour. Good. So so I've been talking about shifting the direction really of where it's going to go. So these are just 3 visuals. The left one is what the sustainability village is going to look like. That's all kind of look and feel. In fact, there's 3 areas, isn't there? There's the forum, there's the village, and there's the repair shop. They're all similar look and feel. Robotics, we've got some really cool robots coming on. We've got a house of robots, we've got a robot bar, etc. A lot of these kind of consumer activations. And then, there's going to be a physical gaming area at IFA, where, again, it's got nothing to do with the trade show. Kids, adults, I do the game myself, go in and just have game competition. We've got game competition on-site in Messe Berlin, and also within Berlin, we're doing something in, I don't know if you guys know Berlin, it's at the level, LVL, it's like a gaming emporium, so we're doing a competition there as well. Right, and then I'll just talk about a few of these things as well. So, back to the German kind of English schism thing, one of the things that we have, despite some reservations, we've been trying to re-internationalise the show. So what we've done now, that's kind of started internally, so we've got like this nice mix of people we've got 4 people who worked on the old show, now working with us from the Messe Berlin team, which is nice. And the rest of it is either Berliners that we've managed to persuade to come and work for us, or as I said, this international team. Everything that we try to do now is in English and German, which wasn't necessarily the case before. So the website is in English and German, contracts are in English and German. All the collateral and material we have, we translate into both. And that's because we're really trying to get everybody, all the Berliners and Germans that used to like to come to the show, come back, but also lots of Europeans, hopefully lots of people from the US, and that's why we're here. We really want to build that audience out as well, and really from all over. So it's also reflected in the content program, where you're trying to have a really nice mix of, we'll have a couple of streams in German, local heroes, professors, government people from Berlin, from Germany, with kind of international speakers that wouldn't go to a local show. And then some of these features are new. You probably would have heard and seen about some of these from the press conference. I talked about it a little bit. The IFA Leaders Summit is effectively the 2-day conference program at the beginning of the show, the Friday and the Saturday. I think it's called the IFA Plus Plus, something like that before, is it? IFA Plus? Okay, so we just kind of did away with that format really. And this is really the non-commercial content program. There might be 1 or 2 paid for keynotes at the moment. This is professors, gamers, all sorts of different people talking on a wide variety of projects, really kind of international thought leadership type thing. Some of the logos I mentioned before. We've got the CTO King, who made Candy Crush, speaking. We've got the Purple Cop guy. We've got various different professors talking about.
Yes, sir. Michael is speaking as well.
Mr. Mike is speaking as well. We've got speakers in the room, yeah. There you go. And 2 days, Friday, Saturday, full auditorium, that I think is kind of a fantastic an array of speakers, something I think we can't have this before. We talk about a lot of really, really great topics. IFA Next. Who remembers IFA Next? A lot of you come last year, remember IFA Next? Yeah. So IFA Next for me is a hugely, hugely important part of the show. So it's basically the innovation and startup zone. It was good last year, had a great look and feel, but we had 137 startups. That's like not enough, right? So some of us were in CES in Las Vegas. They have 1,000 startups. They have more European startups go to Las Vegas than come to Berlin. We're really sad about that. It's a great part. So we're really investing in IFA Next this year. We set the team a target of 500 startups, which I think we're already well on the way to. It's also going to have a 5-day content program just for startups, incubators, VCs, pitch battles, all the usual things that you expect. For me, this is hugely important for IFA because this is a battleground, right? For us to be able to compete properly, say we're in the same league as CES, as Mobile World Congress, etc. We've got to have a serious startup innovation center. So that's what we expect to see that 3 times the size this year, lots of noise about it. Great fun, I think we really like it. Berlin Tech Week, this was just kind of like a dream of mine that I had in the dark days of November when I was on my own in Berlin. I wrote it on the back of the business cards. And it's kind of like taking shape now. The idea behind this really is if you go to, a lot of you must be to South by Southwest, we got a London Tech Week, there's a lot of stuff that happens outside of the trade show, right? And we didn't really feel that in Berlin. So the idea behind that is, again, create a little bit of this kind of festival-like experience where the moment you leave Messe Berlin at 5, 6 o'clock, whenever, you don't kind of just get lost in Berlin. Of course, we're not going to try and track everybody, and you can escape either if you want to, but we're going to put things on, mostly in the evening, mostly away from Messe Berlin, to kind of have that kind of overall lesson experience. It's really interesting stuff there. These things start small, right? This year's going to be 4 or 5, I think maybe 1 thing a night. But in a few years' time, I think, hopefully, Berlin Tech Week will be like a London Tech Week type thing. Sustainability Village I've mentioned before. It's a physical area. Originally we thought it might just be a stream of the content program. This thing we probably, if it hadn't been encountered, 2 minutes. Gonna go red then. Big physical space. We could have called it the Sustainability City, a little bit counter to what it's supposed to be talking about. So every customer that we need to see wants to be a part of the sustainability bit, which is good. I mean, this is really kind of reflecting what we see when we talk to consumers and the retailers and buying groups we've been talking to, telling us that when people come into the shop, if a certain brand or manufacturer hasn't got an incredible story about sustainability, energy usage, waste, etc., they're out of question. This has gone from decision making point 4 or 5 down here, way behind price and brand and whatever, to number 1 or 2. And people just count you out and go for a incredible story about it. So we think it's hugely important, and that will probably grow and grow and grow as we go on. And then house of robots, we talked about that a lot. Physical space, there'll be some great robots, there'll be a robots in the bar, and there's going to be a robots and DJ on the opening night as well. So, yeah, good. I think I'm pretty much done. Yes, I'm done. So we're now going to have our guest panelists, experts in the field, do their presentations. Sojan's going to go first. Sojan's from GfK as an expert in consumer electronic goods, and then Mark's going to talk. He's from SmartTech Research, and he's got a wealth of experience in gaming consoles and smartphones, as you can see there. We'll then do a Q&A, so if they can do their presentations first, we'll do a Q&A amongst the 3 of us and ask any questions you've got. That's it about IFA for now. We're just about on time. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi everyone. I am Sojin from GfK, and I am very happy to share GfK insights on where the consumer electronic goods and domestic appliances market is going. We are collaborating with the IFA management team to share the market insights, so I hope you enjoy today's session. And regarding the GfK data coverage, let me just make sure that we are covering the worldwide, excluding North America. So many of data points are talking about market trend, excluding North America. But some of the consumer studies, they are including North American trend as well. And today I am going to talk about consumer market, B2C market. So 2023 is starting quite tough. We are going to have a number later, but let's have a look at the factors which are impacting the market. So market, since the COVID is quite saturated, that we see the 3 years in a row, the market's revenue staying higher than 2019, which we take as a pre-COVID benchmark. So we are running on a very high baseline. This is the market situation that 23 is facing. And on the other side, we also have inventory still remaining on the market. From the frontline supply chain, we hear the good news that the inventory situation is getting better, but from the end sales side and the retailer side, we also still capture that the inventory clearing out is taking place. From the consumer side, consumers are going through the unprecedented pressure for the cost of living prices with the high inflation and the price increasing. And on top of that, the world is now coming back to normal. That's so people are spending more money for the out-of-home activities. So less budget for the home appliances and consumer electronic goods. So we are starting quite gloomy, but when we have a market number, we now see that the first quarter of the 2023, we see that year-over-year growth rate is minus 10%. So this is not the first decline we see on the market. This is already happening from the previous year. But when we compare the market number to 2019, the pre-pandemic benchmark, then the total consumer electronic goods and the domestic appliances market, excluding North America, stays still 4% high up. So it started as gloomy, but we're still running on a healthy base, a healthy market. So this total market broken down by the sector, we see that every sector is sharing the declining trend. But we also capture that IT, which really corrected the market demand during the pandemic, they are still 17% up compared to 2019 quarter 1. And also small domestic appliances like food processor, coffee machine, those also stay with the 17% higher revenue than 2019. The telecom slightly staying flattish compared to 19, and we see that the TV and audio, they are minus 15 compared to 2019 in the first quarter this year. So minus 10% compared to the previous year. This trend is almost coming unanimously from the other region. We see that the mature market like Western Europe and developed Asia, they are declining minus 8% and minus 12%. So they are running on a saturated base. But we see that the emerging markets like Latin America and Middle East Africa, they are staying flattish, so they are defending quite well. And we see that emerging Asia, including India, they are minus 11%. And from China, we see the immediate impact of canceling of zero-COVID policy that the revenue declined by minus 15%. So even though compared to 2019, we are running on a healthy base, but compared to the previous year, due to the high base, still we are facing the revenue decline. So we see that most of the consumers, 85% of consumers, they are trying to do at least one thing to spare their money. And almost half of the consumers, they are postponing the purchase for waiting for the promotional deal to get us good for a better price. And 1/3 of the consumers, 35% of consumers, they switch from the named brand to the less expensive brands. So consumers are doing something to spare their money. It shows that the consumer sentiment is quite gloomy at the moment. But at the same time, we see that the 42% of consumers responding to the global survey, all these are including the North American trend as well. And 42% of consumers say that they are prepared to pay more for the products that make their life easier and more convenient. So we can see that consumer confidence or consumer sentiment is polarizing. One side, consumers want to save money, but on the other side, they are willing to spend money on the goods that makes clear value to them, which persuade them for that. So from the polarizing sentiment, what we also observe is that from another consumer study, excluding North America, 20 countries, that income share within the consumers who are purchasing consumer technology goods, this is also developing into more of the confident consumer direction. So we see that 47% of consumers in 2019, they were from the medium high or high income. And this respondent rate has increased to the 57% in 2022. So we see that more of consumers are coming from the confident base. More consumers are from the higher income base, so that when the economic crisis comes, then the consumers are losing the purchase power from the low income consumers. They are actually exceeding from the market or postponing their purchase. So the increasing rate of the higher income consumer or confident consumer, this is also the trend we capture from our tech and consumer goods market. We see that for the major product categories from TV to the refrigerator, in the gray line we see the revenue development for the category total, and on the right, on the above side, the colored mark, these are the examples of the premium or high spec features of this category. And we see that the large size TV over the 75 screens inch, and the higher storage capacity smartphone over 256 giga, and also gaming laptop, or the washing machine with the steam function, or the French door refrigerator, all those high-spec products or the premium features, their revenue development in the first quarter this year, excluding North American market, they are actually outperforming compared to the category 4. So confident consumers, they are driving to premium product sales. And now I am talking about the polarization within the segment, within the product category, but within the total consumer market, we also capture this polarization trend. Here we are looking at the 17 countries consumer surveys, excluding North America, about the product age of the smartphones and laptops. And compared to 2019, in 2022, we saw that the more of consumers, they are they are making a new purchase to replace the laptop after using 5 years or less. This is the increased rate, so more of consumers are replacing their laptop faster. It indicates the product age is getting younger. But on the other hand side, smartphone, the product age is getting longer, so it's getting older. So more of consumers buying smartphone, they are holding their devices for longer than 25 months. So purchase is more going to the laptop. Laptop is getting the priority while consumers are holding their smartphone for the longer time. This is another polarization trend we capture for the individual tech device, laptop and smartphone. And not only the product age, also the usage is polarizing. We see that another consumer trend, excluding North American market, we saw that the 42% of consumers who bought a laptop in 2019, they purchased it to use it mainly for the productivity and heavy usage. For example, office application, gaming, or content creation, which usually require high-spec devices. And for smartphone, 48% of consumers, they purchase the smartphone mainly to do the video watching, so simpler media consumption task. And this usage scenario is also polarizing. In 2022, 61% of consumers who bought the laptop, they bought it for doing the heavy usage. So more of the high spec requirement purchase is taking place for the laptop. And for smartphone, also more consumers are buying smartphones to do the media consumption. So we also see that for laptop, more of the powerful devices required by these consumers as well. So we have been talking about the premiumization trend is driving the market, and also the product polarization or the priority. This is taking place on the market. But another trend we capture, which is important for the industry, is this sustainability aspect. This is the survey including the North American trend, and 73% of global consumers said that it is important that companies take the responsibility in doing the environmental friendly actions. And also, consumers see the manufacturers, they make bigger impact when it comes to the environmental friendly or sustainability aspect, with the higher respondents rate that it is more on the consumers themselves. So it is very important for industry to deliver clear message and communicate it right about their strategy and what they are doing about the sustainability aspect to persuade the consumers and let them know about them. And from the consumer side, we also have the same research, including the North American trend, that what they are doing. For example, 25% of global consumers, they are interested in purchasing a product that is made from the recycled or the environmental friendly materials. So people are interested, and the sustainability actions consumer would like to do, this actually varies by the generation. So that the higher respondents rate for the interest in the product by recycled or environmentally friendly material, the millennials show the higher affinity or higher preference to this aspect. And 37% of consumers, they are interested in purchasing a product with a low energy consumption, which directly more includes the direct benefit that you are using the less energy. And this respondents is more coming from the baby boomer. So by generation, people are setting different value when it comes to the sustainability aspect. So it would be important for industry to capture this trend to appeal to the target consumers. So this was the insights that I prepared for today on behalf of GFK. And let me quickly summarize what I took you through today. So we first talked about the market is declining, but it is still running on the high baseline. And within this market, we see that premium consumers, they are contributing to the high spec and premium sales. And the laptop market, also after the surging sales in 2020 and 2021, the market is declining, that's for sure. But as we are looking forward to another replacement wave in 2024 and 2025, the market should be ready for this replacement wave. And lastly, sustainability value has become one of the most important value for consumers to decide their purchase. So brand and manufacturer, they are expected to take action. So this is what industry should take in mind. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's session. Let me hand over to the mic for the US camp.
Thank you, Sujin. So what I'd like to do is just spend some time with you, having a kind of, I'll call it a qualitative discussion, conversation about some of the trends that are jumping out at me in terms of the things that are most interesting for the remainder of the year and over the next few years. And the areas I want to hit is smart home usage. I think everybody in this room is probably focused on that, what's popular, what's not so popular. When I talk about Wi-Fi, it's still kind of a sexy topic out there in terms of some of the advances that are happening in that area. When I talk about the consumer PC market, you know, that's gone through a couple of issues over the last year and a half, ever since the pandemic ended. I want to talk about what's next with smart TVs. And then finally, since we're so close to this, big things are going to happen next Monday. I want to talk a little bit about Apple and what they may do on Monday from an AR/VR standpoint. But what I'd like to do first is, and I'm going to hit the escape key to show this. The person I go to absolutely talk about what's the most relevant thing when it comes to the smart home is Phil Dunphy, that lovable character from Modern Family. So let's play a little short clip of that TV show that I think you'll find interesting. There we go.
And we have liftoff. Yellow, House of the Future.
Let's try that again. It's not sizing properly.
And we have liftoff. Yellow, House of the Future.
Phil, you have 2 whole days to yourself. Please tell me you're not going to spend them trying to wire the house to your iPad.
Nope, because I've already done it. I think when you get home, you're going to be very surprised to see that this house has an actual functioning brain in it.
Great. Great. Now go out and see some friends.
I'm headed out now. I have a 3rd showing at that Colonial. Cam gave me a free pass to his gym. I am not too bright. I am dim.
Honey, if you could hear yourself. Promise me you'll go outside and play.
I see too. Phil Dunphy, this is the year 2025. Welcome. You're the first one here.
Walk on the shallow now. In the shallow, shallow. In the shallow, shallow.
What are you doing?
Hey!
Were you singing a duet with the refrigerator?
Well, yeah, apparently Bridget has a karaoke function. So I was just standing here eating my turkey and apple sandwich when suddenly...
Apples on a sandwich?
Yeah, Bridget. She's opening me up to new experiences.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, aren't you supposed to be at work?
Well, I came home to make you a special lunch, but apparently that's already been taken care of.
Mitchell, would you like some watermelon for dessert?
No, that's okay, Bridget. Thank you. I just got him some fresh cantaloupe, so we're good.
Mitchell doesn't like cantaloupe.
Oh, yeah, of course he does.
Actually, I've never been a fan.
Really? What else does Bridget know about you that I don't? She like any of her work friends?
You can't seriously be jealous.
No, well, it's just that I thought we were going to enjoy her together. I didn't count on being the 3rd wheel.
Yeah.
No, it's obvious that I'm not wanted here, so I'll leave you to your apples on sandwiches and whatever other perversions you two are into.
Are you hearing yourself? It's a refrigerator. Do you see what I mean about him?
Now, I bring that up for a couple of reasons. I mean, first, the challenge with the smart home is that it's a market so far that it's grown in the back of the Phil Dunphys of the world. Most of the people in this room probably have a lot in common with Phil Dunphy. But if the market needs to move to a mainstream position, it can't be focused on and individuals who have a love for the technology. And it's remarkable that the market has grown as quickly as it has. If you look at various categories, that depending on how you define what the smart home is, but the market has to go into a much more accelerated pace and basic ease of use. Sojourn talked about 42% of consumers in Europe would gladly pay more, which is exactly Apple's proposition, by the way, in terms of if they can make products, if they can use products that are easier to use. So I think that's really telling when you start talking about things about the smart home. Let's talk about Matter. Does everybody know what Matter is? It can't be just two people. There's got to be more people. Well, and I'll be very honest with you. I've been very disappointed with the traction that Matters has so far. I would be willing to bet you that if you walk into 5 Best Buys in the New York area, you probably wouldn't get a single person who would know what Matter is. Maybe in New York you'd get, hey, what's the matter with you? That's probably the reply you would get. But until Matter gets traction, and there's a lot of goodness about Matter, the awareness is incredibly low, and so far there really hasn't been a lot of positive movement in terms of that as an accelerant force in the smart home area. Smart home, what I call 1.0 versus 2.0 usage models. Most people are thrilled when they use a smart speaker or some type of other device to do some type of binary action, like turning a light on or turning a lock off or closing the door. That's not really the magic of the smart home is. The magic of the smart home is much more of what I call smart home 2.0, or a scenes-based model where multiple activities can happen when something else has to happen. You don't have to program it. Now, many of the people in this room love doing that kind of work, and we spend the weekend knocking that out. But for this to really become a mainstream category, that kind of automation where multiple things happen at the same time is really going to drive, I think, acceptance in this market. Security-based smart home devices, a lot of it in the United States due to the crime situation in many metropolitan cities is really driven quite a bit of activity. There's a smart lock company in Fremont, California named called UTech. They're the hottest brand on Amazon right now from a brand appeal standpoint. They've seen a tremendous surge in sales, and they've got some terrific products. But the reality is that what's driving a lot of that is really the fact that people want to protect their home, and they see value in that, whether it's smart doorbells, smart locks, smart cameras, for example. We talked about in that video home appliances. Now, home appliances is an interesting category. Most people, despite the fact that there's a lot of smart technology, most of the appliances that you buy today have some kind of smart home technology built into it. These are long life cycle products. People typically don't replace them until they actually fail. And it's a shame because anybody who's bought a smart refrigerator or a smart dishwasher, and I can put it up in my entire house, the technology that's not smart, the condensers, the other capabilities in those products, the energy savings that they drive are so tremendous that in California, where electricity has gone through the roof, I've seen substantial savings in terms of adopting those devices. But from a smart home technology, not many people are really excited about how many times did I open my refrigerator door. That's not really driving the appeal in the market. The other thing, and this is really more pertinent to the home security, is this whole notion of DIY, do it yourself, versus having things professionally installed. And the thing that's interesting to me, and the reason why I have that return rates at retail, the return rates at retail for smart home products include across the gamut. Best Buy, and this is data that maybe I shouldn't just repeat the number, but I will, is north of 25%. 25%. That's much more higher than any other product within Best Buy's product range. And the thing that's driving that is people are bringing those product backs when there's nothing wrong with them from a material standpoint or from a construction standpoint. They just can't get them to work. So that's the big challenge of the whole ease of use around the smart home. Wi-Fi. One of the things that I find that's happening in this space is that people are kind of getting annoyed. They're getting very confused about this whole alphabet soup. You had Wi-Fi 6, now you have Wi-Fi 6E, Wi-Fi 7, the expecting was going to be approved by the end of the year. And people are finding it very difficult to understand what usage models and what applications, what benefits do I derive when I upgrade to that. So that's a big problem in terms of these wireless speeds are getting so much faster, they just can't get an appreciation for why I should upgrade all my devices, my router, my other things in my home, to take advantage of that. Now there is this whole notion of mesh routers. I'm sure everybody has an appreciation for mesh routers. That's a very, very hot product category because those products allow you to provide Wi-Fi coverage, not just in your home, but throughout your property. Orbi has a very popular line of mesh routers that literally give you 4,000 to 5,000 feet of Wi-Fi coverage. And if you're installing Wi-Fi devices outside your home, you're going to need that kind of coverage to really blanket your property. The whole notion of managed Wi-Fi is becoming a big deal. You know, companies like Calix and others, which are broadband service provider communications companies and ADOS type of companies, they want to take the heavy lifting away from consumers in terms of providing the technology to broadband service providers to allow them to manage the Wi-Fi in your home. No consumer in their right mind, except maybe some of the people in this room, want to be the CIO or the CTO of their household. I mean, how many people in this room have upgraded their router and they forgot to change the domain name to what their old domain was, and they had to repurpose 25 or 30 devices in their home? It's a really challenging process, and managed Wi-Fi really fixes that issue. And even though you may have to pay for that in terms of a monthly service charge from your broadband service provider, people find a lot of value in that in addition to other services that are provided there. Let's talk about the PC market. And this is a market that's close to my heart. I worked for Compaq for 10 years. I worked for Dell and Alienware for 10 years. So I have lots of friends at all the major PC OEMs. And I'm not going to go regurgitate the market growth numbers are pretty challenging right now. I think that's a polite word to use right now. And it's really a challenging time because I think most people who have been in the PC market and covering it, there probably isn't a better time to buy a Windows PC. We'll put Apple aside for a second. When you buy a thin and light notebook from a Dell or from HP or from Lenovo, the top, I would say probably all the OEMs, but in particular 3 or 4 top market share leaders, they are making some very compelling laptops from a price point standpoint, from a quality standpoint, from a value proposition standpoint. So it's a challenging time because you really can buy a great performing PC. Prices have come down. I know if you try to buy a PC lately, but you can get a pretty damn good deal right now if you're looking to buy a PC. The other thing that is benefiting, I think, the PC market, and there's still some work to be done here, is this whole work from home usage model standpoint, where people are working at home now 2 or 3 days. I still don't see that changing a whole lot. Most employers are still accommodating that in some way. And people right now are upgrading their monitors, they're upgrading the audio video conferencing equipment, whether it's webcams, headphones in their area. The other day I wrote an article on Tech News Roll about this beautiful monitor. HP just came out with this E45C, which is not only a 45-inch wide curved monitor, you can plug 2 different computers into it and have 2 different sessions on the display. It has built-in KVM, and you can utilize that same keyboard and mouse for both devices, which is magnificent if you're a user that are using 2 different PCs. So those are the type of products and solutions that I think are getting a lot of attention and a lot of appeal. Now, the not so good news. Windows upgrades, driving people crazy. It's no longer compelling. This is not 1995, where people were waiting for 3 o'clock in the morning with Jay Leno and internet in those days, that you would actually wait outside the store for Windows upgrade. Those days are over. And by the way, I think Microsoft has made a strategic decision that while obviously they're still a Windows operating system company, they don't really place as much attention, from my perspective, on the marketing and on the desirability to upgrade. And it's a shame because the latest versions of Windows have really been just as compelling as anything that you see on the Mac. There's this aura of Apple Silicon. We're probably going to hear a little bit more about that at Monday's event when Apple presumably refreshes some of the MacBooks that are out there. But they have really done a great job, I think, frankly, in terms of really resetting the PC market and making Apple a very, very compelling proposition for a thin and light notebook. And at the end of the day, Apple still has a very powerful ecosystem that, in my viewpoint, we can talk about this all day long, I think has a much more interesting differentiator than Windows products, especially if you have an iPhone. if you have an iPhone, have a very compelling capability. There's things that you can do. Not that you can't do all of them on the Windows side, but it's a lot easier to do if you're willing to play in that Apple ecosystem. Smart TVs. One of the things that's happening right now is that the TV base is aging, which I think aids the if you're a large TV or smart TV manufacturer. 26% of all installed TVs are 7 years or older, so that bodes well for upgrades. Price points are continuing to drop like they do every year for TVs. 8K TV sales still, and I had this debate with a certain person in the back of the room, that it still is not a compelling technology proposition for most people. That's not to say that 8K sales are not climbing, but let's face it, especially here in Manhattan here, finding a bedroom that's large enough to accommodate a 75-inch 8K TV, which is really what you've got to get. You've got to get a 75-inch TV to appreciate the value and quality that 8K provides. It's just not there yet. Roku continues to dominate from a smart interface standpoint. You've got players like Samsung and Amazon and a few others with LG with their own kind of ingredient. But Samsung still dominates that market in terms of the interface that's built into TVs. Apps are becoming much more personalized and customized. I mean, we all use different streaming apps. You're going to see over the next year or so, a lot of these smart apps are going to become much more tailored in terms of the way you want to interface with the content, and much more personal from a customization standpoint. And then finally, the other thing I think that's kind of interesting, smart TV is actually benefiting in many ways from the digital advertising business. I mean, the fact of the matter is that many people right now are seeing that apps right now are either lowering their monthly subscription rates in lieu of some type of requirement to watch some type of pre-roll-based advertising. I don't see that changing. Obviously, we've got some of the dynamics around Netflix and others that are going after people for password sharing. That's going to be interesting to see that way that plays out. But the reality is that most of the streaming content companies out there right now are really lowering the price of their monthly service, but in exchange for another plan that may require you to watch advertising. Now, let's talk about this fun topic. What's going to happen on Monday? Now, obviously, nobody really knows. If they do, they're not saying. But there's been enough, I think, leakage in the marketplace from a rumor standpoint that there's a lot of interesting things going on. I think optimistically, Apple's interest in this category is really about making this category mainstream. Not to say that consumers, that the businesses and corporations are interested in using AR and VR in certain types of business applications or warehouse applications or inventory or enterprise-based applications. Not to say that the products wouldn't find appeal there, but I have no doubt that Apple's desire is to turn this into a mainstream category. If anybody can do it, Apple can. I think the focus will be, we'll see what happens on Monday, is Apple really nailing 2 or 3 usage models. We'll see. I'll make a bet with some of you. My guess is that it's probably going to be one of those. It's probably going to be some virtual VR version of FaceTime. Apple knows how to court developers. We all know that. It's all about the ecosystem, and they will apply an ecosystem business model like they've done on iPhone and on tablets to this as well. Price point. Now, this is a kind of a negative. Price points are going to be high. Now, they could shock everybody come out with a $999. AR glass, I doubt that's going to probably happen, given the cost structure, the bond, the ingredients are going to go with that. But I do think that you'll find that Apple probably will hit 3,000 more price points. And keep in mind that when the iPhone came out in 2007, that was a very premium priced phone for the time, even adjusting for inflation. That was a premium product, and you know that Apple's brand premium. People are generally willing to pay more money, and Apple certainly is going to test that. Now, on the negative side, AR and VR has had its kind of its most challenge, most success, I should say, really in the enterprise and corporate market. That may not change, so there might be a ho-hum reaction when Apple jumps in. The volumes haven't been large. With the existing products out there, Meta/Facebook, they've sold about 20 million units so far, which is not a bad number, but it pales in comparison to the size of the smartphone market. The usage models, and this is really what I'm going to be looking for on Monday, is it going to be a tethered usage model where the smartphone has to be tethered to a MacBook? Is it going to require some type of hunting battery that you have to strap to your waist? That's not going to be really compelling from a convenience standpoint. So we're going to see what happens there. And at the end of the day, it is going to be about price points. It's going to be really hard to see Apple sell, call it tens of millions of units if they come out with things at $3,000 per product. Now, one thing I have to talk about a little bit, just as kind of a conclusion here, is I can't ignore Gen AI and AI, and this is a bit orthogonal to the topics I'm talking about today. But I think what's really kind of interesting is that it's not just amazing what these solutions are doing. What's really amazes me is that it's brought the entire, call it deepfakes opportunity to really mainstream people. What I'm about to show you, I did in about 10 minutes, and now it's a bit more advanced in that it wasn't just on the video side, it was done also with a sample of my voice that I was able to upload a sample, and you can't leave the room, Rob. Not in the room. I want you to see it. So let me show you this real quick, and hopefully you'll find this a bit amusing here. Hello, everyone. This is Mark Vina with SmartTech Research. I want to welcome you to today's IFA 2023 preview panel, where we're going to discuss many of the exciting trends in the consumer electronics space in both North America and Europe. I also want to remind you that there's a cocktail reception following the panel discussion, which will end at 8 p.m. I want to thank Rob Pedalero, Stuart Walton, and John Twain volunteering to act as bartenders. Thanks again for attending. Well, yeah, I'm sure you found that funny. The reason why I'm showing it is that exactly. The tools are becoming so easy to use, phenomenally easy to use, that I can only imagine what's going to happen about 6 months from now as these tools are being used for different things. So I just put that in there, mainly to make sure that John and Rob don't talk to me for the rest of the year. So with that, that's really my presentation. I do have let's see here, we have QR codes up there for registration for IFA. There we go. Is the first code, and if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter, please do. So, thank you for your time. Appreciate it, and I'll turn it back to Rob.
Thanks. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Jim. We're going to do a Q&A now. So, Cheryl is going to rove around with a roving mic. Don't be shy. You've got questions. Great.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Just a quick question about Matter. Do you think it's going to help? Do you think it's going to work? You were talking about what it can and can't do. Do you think it's a good idea?
I have not. It's a very, very good question. I have not been able to find a Matter product myself just to play with. And so the flip side of that is, it's been probably your experience as well. There isn't a manufacturer out there that is not providing some type of Matter support. They're spending the resources, they're part of the consortium, and they're doing it. My fear is that when the consortium came together, they didn't really think too much about marketing. These consortiums are nonprofit, so they're not spending money on raising awareness. And I think that the challenge with Matter, and I've raised this a couple of times, is that when you think about Matter, you think about the fact that it's really, if you're a marketeer and you don't like Matter. It prevents you theoretically from differentiating your product. I mean, your product can have really interesting features that are unique to the firmware, unique to the chipset that's in there. But if it's following a common piece of firmware or a driver that has to work across multiple visual assistants, so
That's why the Apple ecosystem is so powerful.
That's
because
exactly right.
It's so closed in, but it's so controlled, and they all work together.
And yes, I absolutely agree with that. And I would say on top of that, the interesting thing about Matter that most consumers don't get is that Matter is, people are seeing the value as, hey, I don't have to remember whether it's a Amazon speaker or whether it's using Alexa, Home Siri, or Google Assistant. What people don't see is that there's a security layer in Matter. So on top of whatever type of security capability that's embedded in the product itself, and that's a shame because God knows we need more and more security at the smart home level. But the answer is I haven't been able to get my hands on one. And we're talking June now.
One question we were gonna.
Sure. I just have a question on smart home stuff. So, I'm looking at streaming services right now. Like, it started out with Netflix, it was so easy. Now it's turned into so many different streaming services that it's almost hard to, you almost have like sacrifice one or the other. And I'm looking at the way that you're talking about smart home devices. Would you ever see maybe like an oversaturation of just like too much smart home tech at one time? Smart thermostats, ring doorbells. Would there ever be a point where maybe somebody would choose one or the other?
I think it's happening right now. I think in certain spaces, if you look at, for example, the smart lock space, there's a lot of fragmentation. There's no one commanding player. You had August that came out at the very beginning of the first smart lock. Not to say that, and they got gobbled up, not to say that their products are not useful or popular, but their market share is not, I consider market share dominance in the 30-40% range. We've got probably 15 guys out there that probably 5 or 6 pieces of the market share. And I agree with you, by the way, the comment around streaming services. I don't know if anybody has kind of made the transition from HBO Max to it lost, at least for me, maybe HBO's out to get me. My entire viewing history got wiped out. Not that that matters, just to tongue cheek.